Good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Gott, and you're watching ntTV's online report. Police reform in the United States Senate is dead for now. Democrats blocked a vote to begin negotiations on the GOP bill. Democrat leaders called the Republicans' proposal inadequate. Nadia Romero has the latest.
Today, I lost a vote on a piece of legislation that would have led to systemic change in the relationship between the communities of color and the law enforcement community.
The leader of the Senate Republicans' efforts to introduce police reform, Tim Scott, voicing his frustration after Senate Democrats lined up to squash the GOP's proposed bill, denying Republicans the 60 votes needed to begin debate on policies.
The Senate Republican Justice Act lacks the substance and the strong, desperately needed reforms to stop police brutality against Black Americans.
3 senators, Democrats Joe Manchin and Doug Jones, and Independent Angus King, crossed party lines to vote in favor of the Republican bill. Republicans wanted incentives for police departments to make changes, including limiting chokeholds. Democrats wanted federal mandates and an overhaul of so-called qualified immunity.
I would like to see it happen, but we won't sacrifice.
Now, federal police reform in the wake of George Floyd's death is in question.
2 weeks ago, it was implied the Senate would have blood on our hands if we didn't take up police reform. Now, Democrats say Senator Scott and 48 other senators have blood on our hands because we are trying to take up police reform.
House Democrats plan to bring their own policing proposal to vote on Thursday.
The American jobs crisis is far from over. According to the Department of Labor, another 1.5 million Americans filed initial jobless claims last week. That brings the total number of new jobless claims filed since mid-March to more than 47 million. Now, first-time claims for unemployment benefits have fallen in every jobs report for the past 12 weeks. So conditions in the U.S. labor market are undoubtedly improving, but the jobless claims numbers are still higher than they've ever been before the pandemic. The Labor Department reports people who have filed for unemployment benefits for at least 2 weeks in a row stood at 19.5 million. Macys is laying off nearly 4,000 employees as COVID-19 continues to hurt the retailer's bottom line. Those cuts in back office and management jobs represent 3% of the Macys workforce. The layoffs will save the department store chain roughly $630 million annually. Meanwhile, the company is reopening many of its U.S. stores, which it previously said are performing better than expected. Stores started reopening in early May as states lifted stay-at-home orders. Macys also says many of its furloughed employees will be brought back in the first week of July. It put most of its 125,000 employees on furlough in March. Macys, which also owns Bloomingdale's and Bluemercury, has roughly 775 stores in the U.S. As Texas continues to see a rise in COVID-19 numbers, Governor Abbott, in a surprise move today, paused any future reopenings in the state and delayed any elective surgeries. However, most businesses in the state are already open, and the pause will not affect them. Across the state of Texas, there were more than 5,500 new cases reported, with 29 new fatalities. The latest numbers for the Metroplex are all on the rise. Denton County reported 1 new COVID-related death and 115 new confirmed cases. Dallas County is reporting slightly fewer new cases today, with 391 confirmed cases in the county. To date, Dallas County has had 328 deaths related to COVID. And Tarrant County reported 460 new COVID-19 cases. To date, the county has had 215 COVID-related deaths. Because the coronavirus pandemic isn't expected to ease throughout the summer, an updated model shows the importance of being cautious and wearing masks. John Lorick reports.
If you're heading outside of the house, cover your face.
Not wearing a mask in public is like driving drunk.
The latest coronavirus projection from the University of Washington says more than 179,000 Americans will die by October 1st. And as the green line on this graphic shows, if masks are worn universally, researchers say the death toll could drop by about 33,000 more.
For pretty much every state that we've looked at, if we can get people to wear masks, we can not only save lives, but I sort of think of it as we can also save the economy because we can keep business going.
This comes as more than half of the U.S. is seeing an increase in week-to-week cases, with records being set in California, Florida, and Texas for single-day coronavirus case reports.
You need to understand COVID-19 is still here. Is spreading faster than ever before.
And while the White House says progress is being made on vaccines,
I think you're going to have a big surprise, a beautiful surprise, sooner than anybody would think.
Health experts stress Erring on the side of caution could be the difference between life and death.
We have early evidence that masks can reduce transmission even up to 6-fold. I think it's clear that they can save lives.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The Supreme Court has ruled that a Sri Lankan farmer who lost his bid for asylum in the U.S. cannot challenge immigration officials' removal order in federal court. The decision is a win for the Department of Homeland Security and the Trump administration, which has attempted to dramatically limit who is eligible for asylum in the United States. It keeps courts closed to asylum seekers and expedited removal processes who say they can't return home due to a credible fear of torture or death. The vast majority of asylum seekers are barred from entering the country following new coronavirus border restrictions. It's visited by almost 7 million tourists a year, but for the last 3 months, the Eiffel Tower has stood empty, the longest closure since World War II. It finally reopened to the public today with social distancing measures in place, but everything won't be back to normal just yet. In order to avoid crowds in a confined space, the elevators are not available. That means if you want to enjoy the views, you're going to have to take the stairs. Just think about those amazing views as you climb. And remember, no pain, no gain. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at ntTV_news. I'm Anthony Gott, and join us again next week for ntTV's online report. Have a great weekend.